Welcome to another episode of AutoSave. I'm Nick Andrade here with my co-host, as always, Camille Salazar Hadaway. Now, Camille, this is almost like a bonus Final Fantasy episode, but not really. Last week we finished the game, and this week we're diving into a little Yuffie DLC.
Yes, it's like, okay, the thing is, and we'll get into it later.
Yes.
It's a DLC, but I want to ask you, what really qualifies as a DLC? Because sometimes like they'll pick up it'll be like a bonus, like right after the story. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, this is just something that no one asked for and you don't want. Yeah. So it's here. It's by Square, and hopefully it's not lame. Sometimes they have really bad DLCs.
Yeah, I gotta say, like, DLCs, I normally don't really play that much unless it's a necessity, and I feel like for this one especially, it felt like it was something important that needed to be played because it's a part of the game, really. It's a part of the story.
Or did their marketing get you? Did the marketing minions get you, Nick, maybe?
They did, because guess what? It's Yuffie time.
Oh.
Well, guys, your girl finally made it to Midgar.
So if you're not aware, Final Fantasy VII Remake got a PS5 upgrade, and with it, again, came this DLC. It's called INTERmission, and Yuffie is the main character, who is a very popular character within the Final Fantasy universe. Would you agree?
Yes. Firstly, this DLC is so weird because it's specific to PlayStation 5. So sorry, PlayStation 4 users, you don't have the luxury of playing this. And then also it's INTERmission, so it's a full upgrade for the game for everybody on PlayStation 5. And then you have to purchase the Yuffie DLC aside from that. But there's also, it's not easy to redeem depending on how you got your hands on the game.
Do you want to know my situation?
Yes, I do. I see your eyebrows like moving. Tell the people.
Well, basically, so I had the PS4 version. That's where I played the remake the first time, and I bought it as a disc version. And so this is where this story takes a turn, and I'm really frustrated with myself because I purchased it from Best Buy. They lost the copy, okay? And they sent it to the wrong place. And so they contacted me and said, we'll send you another copy. And that was the point where I thought to myself, I could get a refund and just buy it digitally because I've already waited 3 weeks for this game and it's already out. People have played it. And then I'm like, nah, I'll just wait. So I could have bought the digital copy, but I didn't. So I got the disc copy. So then fast forward to November of last year. What PlayStation 5 did I buy, Camille? Did I buy the disc version or did I buy the digital version?
Oh, no, Nick. No.
I bought the digital version. So they came out with Final Fantasy VII Integrate, and I found out that I can't cross over my disc over, obviously, to the digital copy. So guess what? I got to buy a whole new Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
In order to play the Yuffie DLC. So that was really frustrating because I had to spend basically $100 to buy the game again just to play the Yuffie DLC, which was pretty sucky.
Yeah, that does suck. I apologize for these oversight from Square. Like, was this an oversight or was this just them being like, hey, spend more money? We could get into that.
I know, we're going to get into it. I think it is an oversight because you have all the data on your PS4, which you transfer mostly over your PS5. All your trophies, like it calculates everything. It knows what you have.
Yeah, there's even a special menu for it in the game.
If you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber or something like that, I don't want to get too much into this and like knock, Sony, but if you have PlayStation Plus, like they track all this stuff. They know that you bought the game. You have the copy of it. I think all transferable copies from PS4 to PS5, like you should be able to do it, whether it's digital or disc.
Yeah.
I think you should be able to purchase it because they already know that you've already purchased the game before. I think that was kind of a ripoff, but it is what it is.
Oh, speaking of PlayStation Plus, so I played this game on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
It was a free download. That does not qualify for the upgrade. for PlayStation 5 because you got it
Really?
from the PlayStation Plus store for free.
Wow.
Luckily, my boyfriend and I, we actually bought Final Fantasy VII, the disc version, for his dad because he's a huge FF7 fan. So when the game came out, he wanted to play. So I had to then borrow his copy in order to do the upgrade for PlayStation 5 with the disc, uninstalling the PlayStation Plus version of the game. And then I was able to get the Yuffie DLC for the lower price. It was a headache, but yeah, just make your DLCs a bit easier to access, especially ones that are as fun as this one.
Or again, too, you should be able to maybe purchase the DLC on its own without having to download the entire game, maybe. But as you can tell, audience, we went through hoops just to play this for you. But overall, like initial thoughts of this DLC before diving too much into it, like what was your initial thoughts when you started playing this game?
See, okay. I really liked Yuffie off the bat as a main character. And I think that's why I had such a good time within the DLC. I always am a bit weary, as I mentioned before, with DLCs just because sometimes they don't add anything for the player. You know, they may have like a teaser cutscene to add to the story of the game, but they really don't add for, you know, the 4 or 5 hours that you're playing this DLC for to the player. So I was a bit worried with that. And it does kind of like briefly have a slow start. That made me worried.
I didn't feel a slow start at all. I just off the bat, I really liked it. I thought it was really concise. So I was like, okay, like let's get on board with this. The mechanics were great, but we'll get into that. Talking DLC, do you have any favorite DLCs of all time? Because for me, it's limited because again, I don't normally play DLCs unless I know it's either important or I really like the game. Are there any specific DLCs that you remember downloading or that you played that you really liked?
I feel like the Arkham games.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
Those are great.
The main game is done super well. I feel like there's two type of gamers in the world. Like you mentioned, like the people that don't buy DLCs because they buy the main game.
Yeah.
And then they probably look up any additional story content on the tubes, you know, the YouTube to be filled in. And then the people that need to have every DLC possible. I'm probably leaning more to the first group because like I said, I'm not trustworthy. Although I will say, and I believe this is a favor of yours, the Spider-Man, just being able to play as like Black Cat was really cool.
Yeah, that was a really cool one. You know, I'm thinking too, like games now are $100.
Yeah.
On these new consoles, they're $100. It's expensive, and if you want to get the DLC package before you know the game is released, they normally advertise that they have the DLC coming later. That's like $120, $130. So it is pretty expensive in terms of just like, do you want to purchase this? Does it have any kind of equation on the game? And with this one specifically, with Final Fantasy, this makes sense in terms of playing it. It adds to the story. And a lot of these don't. For me, like Mass Effect 3, Last of Us, those were cool DLCs. But again, necessarily, like if you play them, it doesn't necessarily mean that it adds to the story. But this one surprisingly did, which I liked. After the break, it's Yuffie time on AutoSave.
My name is Yuffie, materia hunter and elite special forces operative for the new Wutai government. I have orders to infiltrate Shinra headquarters and steal their ultimate materia. To prove to our common enemy that Wutai is not to be trifled with. Members of Avalanche! With your full support, we got this! So, members of Avalanche, where are you? Come get me already!
So right off the bat, Yuffie is a materia hunting ninja from Wutai in Midgar to steal the ultimate materia from Shinra with the help of Avalanche, but there's no one there to meet her. Camille, what did you think of this initial, just listening to it, this cutscene? It's giving me the feels. I really liked Yuffie in this, and like right off the bat, I was already impressed. She had her Moogle suit. She was looking cool. and the mechanics off the bat too. Like I just loved. I don't know. I'm in love with this DLC already.
Yeah, they did a really good job of like off the bat putting Yuffie as the star, having her little introduction. If anyone doesn't remember who Yuffie is from the original or hasn't played the original and is just getting to know her off the bat, and the voice acting and like just how they animated her, like she just has so much charm and charisma and comedy that's not awkward. Like I feel like sometimes in this game, we've talked about it, there are those moments where they're trying to be funny, but it's kind of awkward how it's scripted or like the humor's not coming off. And you have those issues sometimes with JRPGs just because it's kind of lost in translation. But I really felt like I just wanted to start playing the DLC right off the bat. And then also where she kind of lands, it's very familiar to everybody because we've seen this area before. So I was excited to kind of revisit the game from this new perspective.
Speaking of familiar, guess who we saw pretty close to the bat? Reunion. Your favorite.
I was dying. I was like, he literally, because you have an option. There's like a brief, really brief cutscene where Yuffie kind of points out that that's weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of creepy. Like all of the thoughts we had while playing the game, Yuffie vocalizes that for us. And then you could actually go up to him and like his dialogue is just. So I was happy that was back right off the bat too.
We see a couple of these guys and I just kept panning the camera to try to see their faces and what they look like. I was like panning down so I could get a nice close-up look at their scary faces. They all look like Sephiroth, and they all have dark.
One of them has a beard. Did you?
Oh
see
yeah,
the
one of them did. Yeah. So yeah, not all of them look like Sephiroth. The one did have a beard. I noticed that.
I was like, why does this guy have a beard? Like, none of the others have beards. That's interesting choice. Okay. I want someone to draw Sephiroth with a beard now. I have to see it.
If Sephiroth has a beard, he automatically needs to have a man bun, I feel. Right? I would like that makes sense to me. This long hair, you got a beard, you wear a man. Because if you have your long locks and a beard, you kind of just look like Jesus. So you got to like switch it up.
Maybe that's what he's going for.
Yeah, maybe that's what he's going for. Yeah. So right off the bat, mechanics. What did you like about this, or maybe what you didn't like about this? Because I really liked how it felt very ninja-y, but the shuriken attack, being able to throw it, being able to use ninjutsu, it was really cool.
It's the ninja way, definitely, with Yuffie. And the thing is, she is super quick and agile, so that really helps in your combat because you could throw your shuriken and then you could retrieve it. And then you could get closer to the enemy, but then also like back off if you need to, if there's an incoming attack. So I really like that. However, she takes damage very easily.
Oh my God. Yeah. This segues perfectly into, I already had a tough time right off the bat. So the first mobs we faced were really easy and you kill them really quickly. And then I think you have to, you're rescuing one of the reunion guys from these two dogs. And I died 3 times. I recorded my gameplay. Like, I have this on recording of me dying 3 times because she takes attacks so hard.
Yeah.
It was like 500, 600 damage a pop. I was like, holy crap.
You definitely have to use Cure with her early on. And then also just try to block, which I know, Nick, you are not a
No, I
fan
don't.
of.
So that's, I don't think I blocked in this entire game. But I think throughout my journey, and we'll get into this more, but like, I had a tough time. This was harder for me fighting wise than Remake. I died way more times. Yeah.
Well, okay. But did you enjoy the gameplay or was it just really frustrating that you were dying a lot?
No, it was I was great. I didn't die that much, but it was enough to be like a little frustrated by
Nick.
it.
All right. I died, but not that much. It's okay. We all know.
Well, there are
You're
instances.
trying to play
Actually, you know
down.
what? I am. But in terms of like when you select normal or normal classic, now I can't even remember if I what I selected for the remake. Did I select normal classic or did I select normal? Because this game feels a little bit harder for me.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe I cheated.
I think it has to do with the fact that your character does take a lot of damage. Because even in Remake, when we had Aerith for the first time a part of our party, it really irritated me. Actually, Aerith just irritated me a part of my party a lot because she just would take damage a lot. But I found it different with Yuffie because she just moves super quickly, and then her abilities, you could kind of change the different type of ninjutsu that she's using with her attacks, which makes it really interesting as well.
So once you find your way through Sector 7, you find Zizia. I got that right. I practiced a couple times. Who helps you out. You get to the Wutai Avalanche hideout. I'm not really sure if it's Wutai Avalanche. I'm not really sure who they are. But you learn about this game called Condor. And basically you have to wait for a guy named Sonnen to arrive. So until then, the world is your oyster. Camille, what did you do during this time? Because I have some stories.
So remember when I said like the slow start, it was mainly because we were trying to go into the city. I found like that just took me back to earlier Remake where you're just walking a lot. You're encountering one person and trying to save them. So that was a slow start. And then they introduced a board game for you to play.
What, do you hate it?
So yes, I did. I played Condor and I was just like, okay, this is the worst thing to just start off playing, and you kind of have to play it first because then they just block you from leaving the room and wanting to explore the city until you play Condor. And I wanted to hate that game so much, but it is so enjoyable and addictive. Like, how did they do that? I'm not a board game person, and they did it. Like, it's really addictive.
I spent maybe 2 hours, 3 hours,
I spent
playing Condor.
Too, yeah.
Starting right off the bat. I basically did most of the side missions off the bat. Oh no, actually, let me tell you, I talked to our boy Chadley, that son of a bitch. All right. And he said, "Hey, you want to fight Ramu?" And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, I want a summon." This is all the like right off the bat, like the bat of the game. We're waiting for this guy, and I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll fight Ramu." Guess what? I got destroyed. And I don't know if you tried it right away. Whoo, boy, let me tell you, I tried millions of times. And then I'm like, why is this so difficult? Is it me? And then I finally gave up maybe after like an hour. And that's when I went back to see Sonnen. But like also the Happy Turtle guy and getting the pamphlets and the Happy Turtle. One of my favorite jingles.
All the genres that jingle comes in.
There's a metal one too.
Yeah, there's a heavy metal one. I loved those missions. It was so much fun. But yes, I actually, so after Condor playing and then being able to have free reign to go everywhere, I actually started off with the VR simulation.
Okay, you did.
Stupid Chadley. And I was just like, this is impossible. Like, what is happening? So then after 2 tries, I was like, no, this is a lot. So then I played more Condor. I beat everybody in Condor because I am that amazing. And then the Happy Turtle, was it just me or getting that stupid pamphlet next to the dog?
Oh my God. Yeah. Holy shit. That stupid dog who kept waking up. And it was a really cute dog, but holy crap. Because you have to hide through like these boxes and then wait for, like, if he wakes up, you get caught.
Yes.
And that third box, he just kept waking up. And then I got right there at one point, and guess what? I knocked over the stupid bucket.
Oh no. Yeah, it's really hard because most games will kind of give you, I feel like it feels like you have more control over the character in terms of crouching and then tiptoeing around things. But this one auto crouches as you approach the crates that you're supposed to hide behind. Mm-hmm. So you have to really make sure that you're behind that crate so you don't automatically stand up like regular, or you're walking slow enough so then you don't run and hit the bucket. So it kind of felt like you were out of control, but that kind of made it challenging all the same. And do you remember that dog in the remake? Because I'm like, oh, what a convenience that there's a dog just as I need to get this brochure.
He also tricks you out too because it looks like he's falling back asleep, but then he shakes.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. So I was like, okay.
But what does he do? Nick
I don't know what I did.
Just shook his whole body, but then tried to also like slurp like a dog or like... I don't know what was happening there, but that was interesting for my eyes.
I was going to say, as soon as he starts to fall asleep on the third one, that's your best bet to get it. But back to Condor, I wanted to talk about Chadley's Condor fight. You beat him easily because it took me a million tries to beat Chadley.
Well, okay, so I didn't, I kind of fibbed.
Okay.
Like, I didn't run through all of the Condor challenges because I also was stupid Chadley thinking if I could beat that VR simulation to get my summon. So I beat like the basic, those random people. I was able to beat Wedge, Jesse, Johnny. It was nice seeing him
Johnny,
again. Yeah. Roach, which is hilarious as well. And then I kind of like went around and then I came back to Chadley. I was just really pissed off at Chadley, so I didn't want to see his face till I absolutely had to. And then I was able to actually buy from the Happy Turtles guy some of the, what are they, like characters? I don't even know.
Characters and boards that he has, right?
Yeah, the boards. Yeah. So that kind of, I think, helped me improve my game in Condor. So then when I went in against Chadley, I showed him who's boss. This was like my redemption story for all the times I lost at that simulation.
I died into Chadley and Condor like 50 times until I finally beat him. My strategy was to just try to demolish his 3 main pieces as quick as possible, so that it would, by the time the clock ran out, then I'd beat him because I'd have more damage. But whatever, it's okay. The Chichow beans, by the way, hilarious. Where Yuffie uses these Chichow beans that are, I guess, like metal to people that aren't from Wutai, and they like hurt your teeth. But for Wutai people, they can eat them properly. I thought that was cute. But yeah, that leads us to finally, after all this trouble that we had. By the way, I'll get back to Ramu, but we meet Sonen.
I'm back.
Ah, there you are. Someone's been expecting you. What took you?
Sorry about that.
What?
Just thinking how you're nothing like your old man. Anyway, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sonan Kusakabe. I was lucky enough to learn how to fight from good...
Yeah, I don't want to talk about him. Let's talk about something else, like how you've adjusted to life here, indulging in adult pastimes. Which I guess means drinking yourself stupid. Last thing I need is my partner stinking like an over-the-hill has-been. Speaking of drinking, you been to the Happy Turtle? If you're part of Operation Down in One, I take it back. I am there next time you go. Don't worry, I can do adult stuff just fine.
Well, I don't even know where to begin with all of that. But I do know I haven't heard of Operation Down in One. At any rate, I'm looking forward to working with you, boss.
Boss? As in me?
Well, I've got a few years on you, I'll admit. But out of us two, you've done this longer.
I guess I have. Boss, huh? I could get used to that. Beats being stuck on the bottom rung, that's for sure.
After we get the materia, we can celebrate your promotion at the Happy Turtle.
Yeah. Stupid bird.
So Sonen joins your party, and Yuffie, what is going on with you? You don't like drunks, but you want to drink. You got to make up your mind here.
I love this, like, because you could see, like, because she's younger, she's still curious about everything that, you know, adults do and like how that's like. So that's kind of the humor, and it doesn't get old throughout this DLC. The fact that they're kind of poking at her age, but you know, we learned that she really does prove herself. I fell in love with Sonen right from the start. I'm just gonna put it out there. No, like,
wait, in
physically.
love? Like, okay.
Yeah.
So add that to the list of characters that you're in love with in this game. So we're at 4 now. What are we at?
There's too many. They're all so beautiful. Like, what?
Yeah.
Who, like, whoever created these character designs, just props on you. Can we just, there we go. Props. You did an amazing job.
Oh, God.
He is beautiful. Wow. Yeah, but I was happy to have him in.
You're like starstruck almost.
I know, I am. Imagine if you can meet like anime characters in person. I would just faint. I would just die. Anyways.
Okay. All right. So you go with the attractive ones. All right.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Tifa fan. Okay.
If I met an anime character, I'd be Naruto. Like, come on, are you kidding me? I'd get him to teach me Rasengan.
Yeah, I would probably want to meet Trunks first. So another amazingly good-looking person. Yeah.
We all know about your crushes.
But anyways, I was actually surprised. I didn't know we were going to get someone else to our party in this DLC. So that was really fun. Although I hated the fact that we don't take control of him in battle. We could assign, commands to him rather than control him ourselves.
So he is from Wutai, and he does have connections with Yuffie's father, but he's been living in Midgar for a while. But guess what? As soon as you put Sonen in your party, guess what I was thinking?
I thought the same thing. I can finally
beat Ramu.
Yep.
But guess what, audience? I could not beat him still.
Neither can I. You cannot. Don't even, if you're thinking of it, don't do it. It's a waste of time. You'll spend another hour. Honestly, I think I spent maybe 7 hours on this DLC. This DLC is like 4.5, maybe 5 hours if you're doing everything. Most of that extra time was trying to beat Rama.
I spent almost 11. That's where I was at. Most of it on Ramu and another one on someone else. But we have to find Gigia. He's basically getting captured or taken captive or whatever. He
was getting our fake IDs, and then he just never came back.
So I ran after him, and then there was the pulley where it takes you underground. So I went to the pulley, I went underground, and then I'm like, no, I'm not a quitter. So I took the pulley back up. I ran all the way to the beginning, and I went to that stupid MFer Chadley, and I said, one more time, we're going to beat Ramu. And I battled him 5 more times, and I finally got it. So I did get it without having to level up.
Oh, lucky. That's actually a huge feat, an accomplishment. I gave up. I was like, no, it's not meant to be. This is just too hard. This is probably not the right time. I'm supposed to get it. They are obviously tricking us. So I did not take that bait, but it paid off in your experience. So I'm very happy with you, Nick. The fact that you took the pulley back up.
Yeah. Dead. So the funny thing too is that I have this all captured. So it's like you can see my decisions where I'm fighting Ramu for like 20 hours, and then I finally just like give up, go do the main mission, and then you can see my split decision, and I decide to go back and fight him again. But we also see Barret and Tifa. We overhear some Avalanche stuff. Basically, they've lost Cloud. So this takes place when Cloud meets Aerith.
Before this cutscene, you actually see Jessie, Wedge, obviously.
And Biggs.
And when you first try to talk to Jessie, she's kind of mumbling about, I hope that they're okay. So this is like right after she got injured and couldn't go on the mission to the reactor. So Tifa goes in her place.
Yeah.
And then when we see Barret and Tifa, that's when they come back from that mission and Cloud's not with them. So right before Tifa goes to Corneo.
We finally get to Gigia. There's really cool, like, the way to get to him. You have to use these mechanics in order to climb things and change directions of these certain fences. And you use your shuriken. That's pretty cool, right? Like, I really like these, especially getting like boxes far away from you. There's actually like certain prizes you can get as well. I think you're on a conveyor belt, and you can kind of like throw your shuriken at different sides and get a bunch of boxes. I thought that was a really cool aspect of it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this because firstly, Yuffie's fast, and sometimes if you think of the traversing in the original game, it can seem a bit slower, a bit heavier, especially because you're playing as Cloud, and he has a really big sword that probably weighs him down, and he moves a bit slower. Another reason why you shouldn't have a big sword like that, although I was won over at the end. But nice. Like it was a cool way to integrate the fact that she's a ninja with, like, climbing along the post. Mm-hmm. And then using the pulleys to go up and down. So I actually wanted to see more of that in the main game, because it offers like more ways to kind of look for materia, because there's lots of materia that is just laying around all of a sudden in this DLC.
Yes, I know.
Conveniently for Yuffie, but you have to also kind of go out of your way in some instances to find it. So I really like this, and it actually made me hopeful for more mechanics that they'll bring into the second part of the game, because that's also my fear going into that second part whenever it comes out, is will it just feel like I'm playing the first part of the remake? But seeing this, I'm more hopeful that it won't feel that way.
It's almost great to see, like, as consoles evolve and the graphics evolve as well, it looks like these mechanics are evolving as well. So they are learning from mistakes and making things better and tweaking things. So I do think moving forward, they will come up with a lot of these things. Sona and Yuffie, they finally catch up to Shinra, the Shinra troopers who are interrogating Jijiya. So guess what? It's perfect time to show off who Yuffie really is.
As a beguiling ninja, as the world's greatest materia hunter. But who am I truly? Well, onlookers wonder no more. Before you see the rare moon, the single white rose of Wutai, the one and only Yuffie.
I absolutely loved this. This scene, it got me so amped, but it also, in a nutshell, kind of told us who Yuffie was in terms of her clumsiness.
It just worked really well. And like, in terms of the fact that she is a kid, like, she's still into the theatrics of this. Like, it's kind of weird to watch some of the villains go through this theatric of like having to have explain themselves or explain what's going on to the villain as a part of a template of something that villains should do, a la Don Corneo. But it's more understandable to see Yuffie do this because she is a kid. So this is like playful, it's fun, and it shows that she's clumsy, and it also shows Sonen's reaction to it, because that kind of shows you their relationship. Yeah, he calls her boss, and obviously he respects her and her father. But there's times where Yuffie just kind of runs into battle without really thinking it through and doesn't think of the consequences. And you just see Sonen like, oh my God, why me? And after this, you just see like him like, oh God, like why is she like this? So I liked seeing that contrast between the two of them as well. How about you? Did you like this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I loved it. It amped me up. I love the music. I always love the kind of like Japanese, or maybe it's Chinese, I'm not really sure what they're going for here, but I love that kind of aspect of it, and I love the music. It just amps me up because Yuffie's a beloved character, and seeing her kind of like excel, and these cutscenes look so beautiful.
Yes.
And like there's fireworks, and it's so colorful, and it's so like
how she like moves the materia, like she has through materia, it's like very smooth. Yeah. I like that. I'm like I was trying that at home. Need to get like some ping pong balls and practice it now. It doesn't work.
I wouldn't be able to do that. That basically leads us into what our first big boss fight, one of 3 in the game. It's the Gigantopede. What did you think about this fight? I thought it was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's straightforward. It's a real good opportunity for you to understand your flow between Sonen and Yuffie when they're in synergy. Just because you see how like it's really cool. Like Yuffie goes on Sonen's like staff and like jumps off to the enemy, and like you see moves like that throughout the fight when you're using synergy. So it's really cool to see that happen.
And it's like super overpowered too, right? Like the damage on it is killer. But yeah, basically once you fight this Gigantopede and win, Jijiya gives you passes into Shinra, into the Shinra building, so you can get that Ultima materia that you're looking for. And so that's where we're headed. And make sure you take care of business in Sector 7, because this is the last time you'll be in it. So is this the point where you got Ramu?
This is the point.
Okay.
Yes, this is the point. I got him, and it was the best thing ever. Like, I wanted to reach through the screen and punch Chadley for making this super difficult and available right off the bat, because I wasted so much time with it. But that was pretty much the only thing I had to do in terms of taking care of business. Because you did this earlier on, did you have to do anything before you moved on?
I might have finished the Happy Turtle stuff, but I think I did. I think I did everything beforehand. So I just went straight into the train, and because Yuffie and Sonen go into a train to go to Shinra, and guess what? It's packed.
Yeah.
So finally we get some realism here of not an empty train. This train is like a regular rush hour in Toronto, in Tokyo, in New York, and they are jam-packed into each other. This is where Soden tells the story of like his sister. Like, this is not the time, Sonen, in a cramped train. I don't want to be hearing about how your sister died.
Yeah, and Yuffie didn't want to hear either because she...
Oh, yeah.
Like, because I guess she's getting the vibe that Sonen is pretty much saying that he thinks of Yuffie as like his little sister, the sister that he lost in battle, who looks very much like Yuffie,
Exactly
by the way.
like her, yeah.
Very much like her.
Yeah.
Firstly, there's a few cute moments. So we see like Yuffie's motion sickness, which if you've played the original game, there's mention of that as well. She's getting sick throughout this whole train ride. And then she gets really upset when, Sonen kind of like tells her about his sister and pours his heart to her about losing his sister. And she's just like, I'm not your sister, and like pushes his arm away and then gets motion sickness. So yeah, it was a really interesting moment. And it showed us what, Cloud and crew should have done the first time they were on the train. Just get proper IDs. Just get proper IDs.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
Because the scans worked.
It did.
For Yuffie.
We finally get to the Shinra building, and guess what? They decide, let's take the elevator. Again, this is the second time that these guys have taken an elevator, but this time, Scarlet, one of the foes of Shinra, gets into the elevator with us and basically is racist and a psychopath and is trying to like get them to spill the beans that they are from Wutai. She already suspects that, but then she's being like extra racist to get them
to agree with her statements.
Yes. But what's with these characters getting in elevators in a jam-packed security building? You know that something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, they're just fearless. They don't care. Although, like when I saw the elevator scene, I was like, oh no, not this again. Like I thought we were going to go multiple floors and have a few awkward cutscenes or moments with like Shinra soldiers or like one of the higher ups. And this surprisingly wasn't that awkward because you see Yuffie try to react to what Scarlet says, and Sonen being the big brother figure between the both of them, he kind of holds her arm and says like, no, cool it, and Yuffie kind of goes along with what Scarlet's saying, and then Scarlet's like, just kidding, like I already know who you are. You're going down, this is a trap.
That's basically where it leads us. Scarlet sets a trap for us and tells us that we're basically playing a game. And along the way, you get to unlock some cool materia. I guess this is where like Yuffie really gets a lot of her cool materia that she's after during this kind of game that Scarlet is playing. And that's when we get to the training lab for training exercises. And I really wanted to mention this to you because this is also another Ramu moment for me. Did you play through this entire thing and did you beat it?
So, when you're so close, because it's pretty much like the game that Cloud plays earlier in the game, where he's like breaking all the boxes to try to get a high score, and then you get rewards for that. So I got super close within my like first 2 tries, and for some reason I could not get 50,000. I could not get it. I got all the other materia, but that one materia that you get for 50,000, I did not.
So you gave up is what you're saying.
I gave up because I was like, okay, screw this. This has to be a trick. I'm not doing this. Because the thing is with Yuffie, you could use her abilities to kind of hit the bigger boxes, but the wind ninjutsu is probably most effective when you have a lot of small boxes, but it isn't effective. Like I use the Art of War with the big boxes, but it does take some time. So you really have to be precise with how you're throwing her weapon and like how you're retrieving it to kind of get to the point in a fast amount of time. Yeah. So I did not. Did you?
I did. It took me, again, like I said, almost 11 hours of gameplay because I think I spent 3+ hours on this.
Oh, wow.
So for first, I couldn't get the hang of it because the timing needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
If the timing isn't perfect, you're screwed. If you miss a certain box in some space of time, or one of those 1500 boxes, if you don't have something charged up or whatever, you are going to be in trouble. So I actually went on YouTube. I looked at a tutorial.
Oh, really?
There's one instance at the end where there's all those 1500 boxes.
Yes.
And you have to use banishment. Banishment 3, I think,
Oh.
in order to...
I never thought of banishment.
In order to break all the boxes. So it's super precise. By the end of it, so first I was like kind of not doing so well. I wasn't getting high scores. And then I slowly started to get better and better and better. And then, so I just kept getting 48,500. And I kept missing the last box because there's a time crate and the last box. They're all behind some sort of moving whatever, like blocker shield thing. So that I kept screwing up on. And after almost 3 hours of playing it, I was ready to give up. But I'm like, again, I gotta do this. I need to unlock all this stuff. And it was almost a time crunch too, because I'm trying to finish this game. And it's like, I'm spending so much time on the actual, like, just, you know, side games and side quests that really have no meaning.
The mini
to
games,
anything.
yeah.
But I finally did it. Again, by the end, I was like precise. Like I was doing everything I did it so many times. It was like a repetition where it was kind of like I was just doing the same mechanics every time. Like if I felt like good. And then so I finally did it. I had 20 seconds left. So I managed to get everything with 20 seconds left except for the last one. And I got to 1 second. I was so close to not winning.
Oh my gosh.
And I did it. I finally got it. And I got the EXP
I'm
bonus
so proud
materia.
of you.
Thank you. I'm going to recommend this for everyone who plays this game is to, if you can, spend the time to beat this because this EXP bonus materia is OP. You level up so quickly after this. Almost every fight, even like just with minions, you pretty much level up. So by the end of the game, the main boss becomes super easy because you level up so many times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I guess going into like when we go into the final boss, like we probably had two different experiences with that because I did not have that XP bonus materia.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll talk about how hard or not hard it was. But Yuffie and Sonin, they end up in a room with, guess what? Scarlet's red chair where, you know, she was doing those experiments. She had her lapdog soldier, which we see him again.
We see him again. Yeah, this is the same lab where she just left everyone to die in there, right?
Yes, it's the exact same room, which he's trying to kill us in as well. So
yeah. So we're on the scene of a murder scene before we actually know it's like a murder.
We basically play some more of Scarlet's game. She's putting us through the ringer. We get to choose and decide what kind of bosses we want to fight almost. We have an option between two. We get to pick. I was just doing randomly. I didn't really care. And then that's when we finally get to Scarlet and her Crimson Mare.
My. How the tables have turned.
Proud of yourself, little savage.
What are you doing? Sleep well.
Vice, this is a surprise. To what do I owe the pleasure?
These idiots want to digitally replicate me, so I'm indulging them.
All set.
Transporting!
So we have a boss fight with Scarlet. She presses a button. I don't know really sure what it does. I guess it unlocks lab experiments. I don't know how you found the boss fight. I thought it was pretty easy.
With the Crimson
With
Mare?
Scarlet, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty easy. You know, I actually had a lightning materia equipped. So that's actually her weakness. So that helped out quite a bit. I just went for Scarlet most of the time.
Same.
I didn't even attack the mech itself. And then I triggered my summon. So it was good. It It was a good fight.
So Weiss and Nero, this was an interesting reveal for me. It came out of nowhere, and I'm not really too familiar with the characters, but were you surprised by this? Were you shocked? Were you excited?
Well, I didn't think they would introduce like 2 new enemies that seem like we're going to see more of in the next part of the game. So that was cool. Nero as a boss, really annoying.
Really annoying. It makes me think too, like we kind of saw this a little bit in the remake in terms of them making the story a little different from the original, and seeing these 2 characters who are again from a side story of Final Fantasy VII. It makes me think that again they want to really flush out this whole story that they're going to tell, and they're going to now use a lot of these side stories, a lot of these extra pieces of information, and really lock in like new characters, new enemies. And flush out a lot of these characters. I think we see it with this Yuffie DLC in terms of getting to know Yuffie more. Maybe there's like a Vincent Valentine DLC. Maybe there's a Sid DLC. Maybe a bunch of other characters where we flush out some of these stories and a lot of these characters that we've actually never seen in the game. I thought it was kind of like, not cheese, but it was interesting to use these characters because I was like, wait, who are they again?
Yeah. They're not really... Well, I guess they're memorable. I mean, you don't know many characters that has wings as knives unless it's like he's like Scissorhands, right?
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison, I think.
Nero Scissorhands. There we go. Nero Scissorhands.
Just seems out of left field. I feel like Scarlet now has been placed into this spot where she could be the main villain. And instead, they pivoted and gave us 2 new characters that I'm sure Final Fantasy VII, fans were like, holy shit, it's Nero and Weiss. And that's all great and good, but I was kind of taken off guard because they haven't been introduced in this whole story, and now this is your main villain. It's kind of strange.
It is weird, a weird choice, but maybe it is the better choice than having them in, say, the second part of this game, and like you just see them briefly. Or they're mentioned and then they're just a boss, a one-off. Like you said, it may keep it open for either DLCs. I hope that they don't go the route of all these side characters have their own DLCs. I like the fact that there's just this one DLC for this part that we know of so far. I believe they might have even confirmed that they're just coming out with this one DLC for the game, for the remake part 1. So I'm happy that we kind of get that glimpse here. I know you mentioned that, the DLC, if those side characters like Sid, we get DLCs for them. That'd be a cool thing. I really hope that's not the case. I'm hoping it's more like along the lines as Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge, where they may have a bigger role in the main story of the second part of this game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of DLCs, especially as complicated that this one was just to get your hands on, could leave a lot of fans out of the loop if they're playing on PlayStation 4, which I hope, that's not the case.
I mean, if you're playing on your PlayStation 4 at this point, I'm sure the fan in your PlayStation 4 is telling you, please stop playing me because it's going into overdrive. We get into like some multitude of fights here. There's like a battle simulator that Scarlet puts us in. We have to basically escape it, which we do. And then that's where Nero comes in and we fight Nero. Again, it seems very abrupt. He's creepy as fuck, right?
He's so and the music, when you fight him, the music is creepy as well.
Yeah.
Which just plays into that. They did that so well. And even like Yuffie's like, man, I'm like, this is kind of scary, right? Like, because he is kind of scary when you're fighting him and the music just changes. So yeah, I loved how they actually played into the fact that this guy's a creep.
What was your overall thoughts on that final boss fight? There's like three tiers to the main boss. Yeah.
There's 3 tiers. I died twice.
Okay.
When he reached his final stage, I just wasn't able to heal as quickly as I wanted to. I had to wait for the ATB gauge to kind of go up there. So I would either be Sonnen dies first, and then I'm trying to use a Phoenix down on him. Yep. But then I die in the middle of doing that, or Yuffie just dies and gets knocked unconscious and I die. So after like 3 tries, I got it.
Yeah, that's similar to me. Is he dies, I use a Phoenix down, then he gets up, and then usually then I die, and then Sonnen uses that power that he has to like bring me back to life.
Yeah.
And then I just die anyway.
Yeah.
I die. Yeah. I died a few times in that last one, which is annoying because then you have to start from the beginning
Yes.
of the whole fight. So I did that a couple times. Finally beat him with I got Ramu at a good time because I had almost killed him,
same here.
and then his final judgment bolt, because I was like almost dead, and the final judgment bolt that I had destroyed him. So I was really lucky that I managed to do that because I think I had like 800 health left or something like that.
Yeah, Judgment Bolt definitely helped out there. You're right, though. It was like the perfect timing for Rama. And I feel like if I didn't get him, I would have died for the 4th time.
Well, after all of that, we finally defeat him. We get a really cool cutscene as he bursts into smithereens, or so we think.
Aha! Hey, what's in here? No,
Please. Yuffie. You gotta keep going. For us.
No. Stop it. Sonon!
So Nero comes out of nowhere and Sonon senses it, protects Yuffie, and gets stabbed really harshly to protect her and pushes her away to get her into safety. But that was one twist that I did not see coming at all, Kabil.
I did not see me crying in this DLC.
Oh, you cried. Oh.
I cried because I was such a Sonnen fan, and his sister, like,
I
he
know.
remembered what happened to his sister before he steps into the way to protect Yuffie.
Yep.
And then, like, Yuffie's reaction as well, especially because that's not something we've seen from her throughout the DLC. It was touching. So and then they're just staring at each other because, oh my gosh. And stupid Nero, like, just mean, man. Where did he come from? He, like, glares at Yuffie from Sonen's shoulder as he does it. Like, oh, this was so unexpected and it was a little much. I didn't know I could feel this, like, caught up in the emotions of a character I literally just met, like, 4 hours ago.
And you're like running on a high of you just defeated Nero.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, he's alive, and I'm just going to stab Sonnen here. And I thought the most savage part was throughout this whole cutscene where he's now seeing a vision of his sister, all that. There's a moment where it goes back to him in real life where the kind of like Nero flames are kind of disappearing from him. So I'm thinking, okay, we defeated Nero. I guess maybe this is like a vision and he's not actually dead, because it looks like for a second Sonen's okay. And then no, Nero comes back for 18 more stabs and really ends it for him. And I thought, oh, you asshole Square Enix, you got my hopes up here. And I thought he was going to survive, but nope, we're going to stab him 18 times more.
Yeah, I was hoping Sonnen would be a character, like, we'd see him again. Like, I want to see that face again.
Yeah.
And I really don't think this is going to be a situation where he comes back from, or there's another alternative reality where he's alive and he comes back. Like, I think this is the end of his story. And the fact that, like, he has that moment with his sister, like, and it seems like maybe he'll be he okay?
Nope,
It's
he's
just, this was just so sad. And just seeing like, as Yuffie escapes as well, like she like pretty much escapes there crying, like tears, pushing through the reporters that we've seen in the main game at the start of this mission in the DLC as well. And she's crying uncontrollably. And then Square's like, oh, that you thought that was sad? Let's make it worse.
Yeah. Let's level Sector 7 right in front of Yuffie and make her just completely crumble. But again, it makes sense because if Sonen's got to die here because Yuffie clearly is part of the main, character's entourage.
Is she? Like, you don't know. It's free will now.
It's true.
Like, right?
We don't know for sure, but I'm going to take a good guess. I think we're going to be able to use her as a party member at some point. So it basically makes sense that Sonen gets killed because, she doesn't have anybody with her. But yeah, just a sequence of events where she's just getting, bad news after bad news. But we also see it's almost a character arc for her. Although I think some of this ending seems a little rushed in terms of like, Nero and Sonen. I don't know. I get the Sonen thing, but for Nero to come and then kills him, it just seemed very fast for me. But we see a kind of character arc with Yuffie where at the beginning, she doesn't care about anybody from Midgar. And she doesn't care if they level the city or whatever. And then by the end, she's kind of distraught by it. And I think it shows that she's become not more human, but she, I guess, respects the people of Midgar more, and it's all about how she distastes Shinra rather than how she distastes everybody from Midgar in general.
Yeah, because she has that moment too where she talks to some of her comrades about the fact that they're scoping out Section 7 and they're talking about, the smell, but the people, like you get used to the overcrowding and the people and you grow to like it, right? And she's shocked that they actually like this place and that she's kind of sees it as like everybody who lives in Midgar is a part of the problem. So it was great seeing this character arc, and it kind of sets up the fact that she started off like she has those conversations at the beginning with some of her comrades, how they are, scoping out Section 7 or the slums, and they kind of like, she's saying she smells like the stench and, there's so much overcrowding, and her comrades are like, oh, you get used to it and you kind of grow to like it. And she's shocked that they actually like the slums. And she just feels originally that everybody in Midgar is the problem because they're kind of also working for Shinra or just being complacent to what Shinra's doing, right? At this moment when Sonen dies, you see it sets up for obviously her needing to find other people to help, because she says at the end of that death, like she can't do it alone. After she sees Section 7's plate drop, she's like, I can't do this alone. And then, it kind of goes into like this other scene where it's such a contrast from the emotions of being like lost and losing everything to hearing her sing, hum the Chocobo song.
Yeah, she's I don't know, not in a good mood, but it looks like she's moved past it. And she's on a Chocobo. She wants to create a new team. So she clearly still has a vendetta against Shinra. But now it's time. Like, I think she's grown up a little bit. I think that's where we're at with her. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think she's more focused, because before she was also talking about she's a materia hunter, like a lot. And, obviously she wants to take Shinra down off the bat, but she always kind of seemed like she was losing her focus. It's like a kid, right? Like, a kid that says, oh, I want to have a dog, but then you kind of lose focus of taking care of that dog, right? This was kind of the thing for her that made her really realize the importance of what she's doing and why she needs help. And because the game's saying it up, that she's probably going to find help with Barrett, Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, because she also refers to them when she first sees Barrett and Tifa. Oh, that's the Splinter Cell. Oh, maybe we should ask for their help. And she talks to Sonen about it. So, that's kind of what it's leading up to, which is great to see as well.
Well, I'm excited because I like Yuffie, and I'm excited if she meets the team, but we don't know because, like you said, free will. Anything could happen in the next part of the remake because it's pretty wide open after that last final scene in Final Fantasy VII Remake. When we return, our final thoughts on Intermission on AutoSave.
Look at that. Where's a roof when you need one?
Gonna be okay?
Should be, but weird. My stomach's in knots.
That's its way of telling you it's hungry. Let's move.
It's been a while, huh? Long time no see. How you been? Listen. Hey. I'm back! Aerith?
Oh, what a cliffhanger there. I actually spliced together both the end scene of the group and Cloud and Aerith and our final reaction with Zack. It's an interesting one there because we don't really know what's going on with Zack, but we see him in a church and there are people crying, and Aerith is not there. What do you take from all this?
Why is this game playing games with me? Firstly, I want to go, like, I do feel like this part, the scene, I have no idea, but I feel like some of the characters got lip fillers on their way out of Midgar because Aerith's lips
I put this note
and
on here.
Tifa's lips are just interesting, and like Cloud's skin is like a baby's bottom. I have no idea what happened.
No, but that was the first one I put in there is like, is everyone more attractive in this cutscene? Like, I feel like they got better graphics because like Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, Barrett, they all look better looking than they did before.
Yeah, is this why they only wanted PlayStation 5 owners to play this DLC? I don't know, but maybe that's a hint into what they're looking for in the future. Maybe, you know, the graphics coming with the next part will be like this. We have to get used to seeing Cloud, but they do look a little polished, maybe a little too polished even, but
Right.
Sure, whatever. But yeah, this game is playing straight up games with me. Because what the heck is Zack doing? Okay, the church seems like it has probably people who are, you know, seeking shelter from the plate dropping.
Yes.
But if Zack is from an alternative world where Cloud, because he had Cloud with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell did that happen there too? Or is this another Zack? Did he transport into this timeline? Because the church just looks very much the same. Very much the fact that people were in the church when you left the church. The last mission that you had when you had to like grab materia from the church and find the chocobo. People were there seeking shelter. It looks exactly the same. Why would people be seeking shelter if the plate did not drop in that universe? So I have questions and I don't know the answers.
So a lot of people online were saying like that might be people were mourning Aerith's death. But that to me, like you said, it looks like more like people seeking shelter. It looks like maybe refugees. It looks like something where people are trying to just hide away somewhere. It doesn't look like they're mourning anybody.
They're not looking around one thing. Like if there was the flower beds, maybe looking to that because that's something she did. They weren't doing that. They were all in their own little like circles mourning that maybe they couldn't find their loved ones.
There's this theory circulating online that there's a scene, it might be Advent Children, I'm not really sure, but there's a scene somewhere where there is a scene where Zack goes into a church where there is white light behind him and he meets up with Aerith, and that's to signify that they're both dead and they're together. what people are saying is that Zack is dead, which again, it doesn't really make sense because we've seen him with Cloud. Kind of, he beat the soldiers, he didn't die. So I feel like that's another universe, something like that. But the theory goes on to say, like, we see the white light to signify that he is dead, but because of the time change in Remake, Aerith is not dead or won't die. So she's changed her path. So he's going there to meet Aerith, and Aerith isn't there anymore. That's a theory. It doesn't really make much sense to me. I think Zack is alive, and I think you agree.
I do think he's alive, but which Zack is alive? Like, we already established that there's multiple Clouds.
Right.
So is this the Zack in their timeline, the main timeline, where he actually did die? Because even through Sonen's death, he has this moment with his sister. Throughout the game, they have these like breakaway moments with someone that's already dead or someone that's dying, where it's like the last goodbye.
Yeah.
So maybe this game is trying to do something, and the people in the church are actually people who died during the plate collapse. But the only issue is I don't know how they would tie that back to the overarching story. I don't know.
We're in for a wild ride, especially if just Nero comes out of nowhere. I can only assume what the hell we'll be getting in the second game. But the other cutscene with Cloud and the team, the more attractive Cloud and the more attractive Barrett, Tifa, and Aerith, it made me excited for the next, like super excited, more excited than finishing that first game, where I really want to see now where this goes. And I see them going to a town nearby.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm ready to dive into this next part.
Mm-hmm. And also it's reassuring too. Like, one thing that, again, whenever a game ends or like a movie ends where there's an open road and the characters have to walk, they start walking that path, I'm always just like, no, like, you can't make the next part where it's mostly that path they're walking through. Like, you know, I don't want the next part of the game to be like, oh, they're traveling to a town and like it's slow paced again right off the bat. Like, this just reassured me that they're right next to a town. They got off that car with all the chocobos, which was a really funny scene with Barrett.
Cool,
and you know, they're kicking things off right off the bat again. Like, you're stepping into another amazing town, hopefully filled with equally amazing mini games and people.
So back to the DLC. What are your final thoughts on playing through this game? Did you like it? Do you have any additional thoughts?
It was definitely worth I think it was like $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
For me, if you've already, like, okay, this is the thing. If you've purchased the game on PlayStation 4 digitally and you have to purchase the full thing again, maybe not worth it. Although you would be missing out a bit, I say just wait. You know, they're probably going to bundle this into a deluxe version of the game or something like that. So just wait. You know, the second part of the game's not even out, so you have time to catch up. But in terms of the $20 as an upgrade for PlayStation 5 users, definitely worth it. You see the graphics are so much better, especially if you play it on PlayStation 4. So you get that upgrade in graphics with PlayStation 5. And then the DLC just adds new mechanics, new battles that are interesting, new characters. They introduce a lot of new things in this DLC that makes the game just feels another level up. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. And the bonus is it's not just the side story. It adds more closure into what happened like at the end of Remake, and more hope into what's coming up, because it gives you the glimpses of that.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is, like, if you're a fan of this game, again, I think it's totally worth it. And I do think, like you said, you're missing out if you don't play this, because it adds a part of the story that I think is really important to tell. And the quick runtime I really liked. Did you like that it was only 3 to 4 hours? Would you rather have saw more of it?
No, I think it was the perfect time, especially because of the mini games. Yeah. Although Condor like takes up a lot of that time if you're playing that, and Rama. But a lot of that could add more value if you want to take that time. Right? I feel like the worst is when you have a DLC that seems like you're getting 10 hours of gameplay, or it's advertised as 10 hours. But it's moving very slowly. You're not getting any addition from the story. Like, it just kind of feels like something they put out there to make money. Of course, Square's trying to make money. However, they really gave you value here. You need that equal reward, right? So if you put so many hours into this game, and then you just got the cutscene where they get out of the car and they're in front of this town and it was really short, you're going to be like, what the hell? Like, this isn't worth it. But because you didn't invest too much time in this game, unless you're like Nick and spent hours trying to beat Rama multiple times, you know, you're going to get that payoff.
Yeah, I was cool with how long the game was. I like how fast paced it was. You can actually you can fight Weiss in the battle simulator in Final Fantasy VII Remake with Cloud and the team. So that's pretty cool to do. The one gripe I had that I wanted to mention was, and this is with the main game as well, I don't like when, especially if you're vying for a platinum trophy, I don't like when games, part of the trophies that you have to win are to go into a harder mode. So, and there are trophies in this one as well as Final Fantasy VII Remake where you have to play hard mode in order to get a trophy. Some players, i.e. me, aren't well versed in super hard mode.
Yeah.
And I feel like give people bonuses for playing on hard mode, but I feel like platinum trophies in general should only be given to certain quests and stuff that you have inside the game rather than having to play a hard mode. I think that makes it a little bit more difficult for some people. And I get, you know, a platinum trophy shouldn't be that easy, but at the end of the day, like a specific example here is Kingdom Hearts 3. Everything that you can do is within the main game and you can get that platinum trophy. And then if you want to go into the hard mode, you can. And I feel like maybe give certain bonuses, like I said, but I don't necessarily think that should be a part of your platinum trophies because I don't want to go back and play on hard mode because it frustrates me too much. I'd rather play on normal, be able to unlock what I can, and then go from there.
That's an interesting point. Like, I could see where you're coming from, but also at the same time, I could see people who want the added challenge and want something to show for that, right? And not just in-game rewards. They want it to reflect on their profile on the PlayStation, right? But I see what you're saying with the platinum trophy.
You can get another trophy, or like it could say like, this is your trophy or reward for getting a hard mode beat. So you can see it on your profile. Maybe it's a different color, like a I don't know, a shiny amber trophy or something like that. That's really cool, and change the way the platinum trophy is. I don't know. Maybe that's a little nitpick thing for me.
But I would ask, is that any different from, like, say for Spider-Man, to get that platinum trophy, you have to play through the game again, right? So really, I think it's maybe annoying for people who want to play a game, especially that's so in depth like this and does take a lot of time once through, to then go to play it in a hard mode to play it again, right? Like, I think it's more the playthrough, playing it again, having to unlock those trophies.
Maybe I'm just bitter because I'm not good.
Yeah, you are.
Maybe that's why.
You are.
Is there anything else that you missed or that we missed or we want to discuss further?
Actually, I want to ask you. So we know in the original that Yuffie's an optional playable character.
Yeah.
Do we think that they're going to keep this in the, realm of free will? Is she going to be an optional character, or will she be like a character you do have in your party?
I think so. I think you can toy with the story as much as possible and change plot lines or whatever. But when it comes to like people that you can have in your party, I think everyone will still be there. I think you'll be able to have access to everybody.
But do you think that she will, they'll still go through the whole route? You have to answer questions, like you have to actually unlock her as a playable character, because I think they will. And that's why they gave us this DLC for people who have not, who may not be able to play as Yuffie because they played the wrong way in the second part of the game. So what do you think? Do you think that they'll keep it as an option? Because that was a really cool, little Easter egg there in the original.
Yeah, I think they will. I think it makes most sense too. But again, I really think that they're also going to do like DLCs for every side character. I'm not talking about like 3 or 4, but what I'm talking about is 1 per remake. So we got intermission here, then in the next game we'll get another one, and so on. But I think this is really going to end like 20 years from now. I bet like this is going to be like GTA 5. I feel like.
I will be playing the final or second last version of part of this game on my deathbed. And then my grandkids will follow up with the final.
But Mima, you have arthritis. You can't play anymore. Then you gotta play for me, grandchild.
Yeah, I'll be training my grandkids to play the final part of this game.
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention. I know you mentioned Yuffie's character model in terms. I felt like they, especially in the game, not the cutscenes were immaculate, but the game felt like they didn't really show emotions as well as the remake.
Like in terms of like the main, like Yuffie and Sonnen?
Yes.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. For some reason, I'm just thinking of Chadley and the evil butt he is. He just never, he's emotionless throughout. But yeah, I guess so. I guess I didn't really notice it too much. I more noticed it in the final cutscene. They just looked a little different. That was jarring.
I think that's it then, other than my little nitpicks. Do you have anything else? Is this the final word? It's our last time to talk about Final Fantasy VII for a while.
R.I.P. Sonnen. You beautiful. There we go.
Well, that's it for us. We hope you like our saga of Final Fantasy VII Remake and the DLC. We had a lot of fun playing and talking about it, so I hope you did too. Next time you hear from us, it'll be something brand new. Can't wait to see you then on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Camille Salazar-Hadaway and myself, Nick Andrade. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Seitzer. Executive producer, Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now, and if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original, hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.